Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism, and it's the day that I answer your questions. Now, I've only got one, I guess it's kind of one set of questions because there's a couple different things in here, but they're all in the same email, and it reads as follows. This in response to the Monday episode 502, says, great podcast, an emotional one. How many people actually came out? This referring to the Millinocket Marathon and half that I ran last Saturday. And if you listen to Monday's episode, it's a preview and a review of the race. I did not review the race as thoroughly as I wanted in the podcast. I did wind up Saturday night recording about 9 or 10 minutes of audio that wound up needing to be compressed into about 3.5 or 4 minutes. So I've got a lot of audio that I recorded that wound up not being in that podcast as far as recap of the race. So I might wind up recapping the race a little bit while answering the question. So how many people actually came out? Amazing how it helps the economy. Did you find out how much support you received? Great runtime. Proud of you in the effort you've put in. Great job. Well done. So the first question here, how many people actually came out? And that's something that is still being tabulated as far as the number of runners. And, well, I'll explain why that's still being tabulated. Because you might ask yourself, well, they had the race timing company that was there, and everybody had the bibs and the little chips, and, you know, as people ran across the thing and blotted up, well, not all of the runners finished before the race timing company left. Now, this was not a time-limited race, so if it took somebody 24 hours to do the full marathon or the half marathon, that's fine. They would not be, swept off of the course of, you're going too slow, you have to leave now. Nope, that's not how this works at this particular race. However, the race timing services were donated. This, I mentioned previously, I'll mention again, this was a free race. There was no registration fee. And marathons aren't cheap. Half marathons aren't cheap. And some people might think, well, why should I pay money to just go run with other people? And if that's all you see a race as, fine. But there are a lot of things that go into a race. For this particular race, 3C Race Productions drove about 7 hours to get to northern Maine. And then on top of that, donated about $5,000 worth of services. You might be asking yourself, how is it so expensive? Well, you have multiple people that are manning the table. They've got the race strips. If you've ever been to a race, you'll see the little metal, or not metal, the little rubber mat thing that looks like a speed bump. And there's some kind of, I don't know exactly if it's RFID, but there's some kind of device in there that reads the little chip on the back of the bibs. So you've got to have somebody there that's making sure as the runners are running across, it's actually getting the information and that the times are correct. And you need more than just one person for that. And you've got people that are there all day. You've got people that are there several hours before the runners are because they've got to get everything set up so that they are ready to go when the race begins. So again, 3C Race Productions donated about $5,000 worth of services. Other things that go into a race, water stops. This, again, free race. There was no guarantee that there would be water stops anywhere along this 13.1 mile course. 2 loops for a full marathon. But some of the locals wound up setting up water stops. One group even had fireball shots. I did not partake in a fireball shot because I wanted to, this was my first marathon. I wanted to do as best as I could in this race. There were some people, they were there just to have fun, and that's fine. That's fine. Next year when I go, I'm going to be one of those let's have fun, party on the race course kind of people because I've done the race once. So next year, yeah, fireball shot, definitely. Cookie lady, yeah, I'll take a cookie on the first lap. Oh, somebody's giving away soup. Yep, I'll have some soup as I pass by. It's going to be fun next year. That's not to say that it wasn't fun for me this year. It was an absolute blast. But I was in race mode, not have fun mode during the race. Before the race, yep, party. After the race, party. During the race, business. So, again, long answer to the how many people actually showed up. We know that there were at least 1,155 runners because that's the number of runners that 3C Race Productions wound up timing themselves. Now, I did read one report saying that some of the runners, the times may not have tabulated correctly or not shown up in the computer while 3C was there. And then there were the runners that finished after 3C left. Again, they donated their time. So, normal race, the timers are there until either the time limit cutoff or everybody finishes. This, they donated time, so they had a limit for themselves because, again, 7-hour drive. Now, there are some times that are being manually sent to them. Stay tuned. There's more.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to BIPCOT.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com.
Hi, this is Roger Paxton from the Lava Flow Podcast, the Free Coast Freecast, and Pax Libertas Productions, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Before I continue answering the question, and yes, I'm kind of going in a very roundabout way of answering the question, but before I continue answering, I've got a question for you. Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you use cryptocurrency as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? If so, then you need Spend-A-Bit in your arsenal. It's the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Spend-A-Bit aggregates millions of products from thousands of crypto-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Spend a bit. Use my affiliate link, spendabit.fppradio.com. And if you're a Bitcoin accepting merchant, ask about their merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.fppradio.com. That's spendabit.fppradio.com. So again, the question was, how many people actually showed up? I've only been talking about the runners, and why we don't exactly know how many runners actually showed up. But the best guess is about 1,200. I've heard there may have been as many as 1,500, and some of that, there were people that were DNFs, meaning they did not finish the race for one reason or another. I know there was one guy that I spoke with that he finished the first loop, started going on the second loop for the full marathon, and wound up having, I think he said, ankle problems, and he had to wind up just heading back to the start and then telling the timers, yeah, I didn't make it, I'm a DNF. Luckily, I've never had a DNF. So once you add those in, it could be as high as 1,500 runners. And then you had support staff, because some of the runners wound up bringing family members along. They brought friends along. They brought significant others along. And this is something that a lot of might not realize, because most people, your average person isn't going to run a half marathon or a marathon. Average person might maybe wind up doing a local fun run or a local 5K just to be like, yep, I did that thing in my town because it happened. And you don't really need support for a 1 mile run or a 5K. But for the half marathons and the marathons, it's really nice to have somebody that, especially on a course like this where it's a loop, especially with the cold weather, I really wish that I would have had a different shirt or jacket that I could have put on, because I started sweating, even though it was like 19, 20 degrees. I was sweating. Come around for that second loop, the cold air hitting me on my wet clothing, it was rather chilly. Would have been nice to quick change of clothes, get back on the course. So there were people brought support staff for them, have that extra water bottle, some kind of communicate on a two-way sort of thing of, hey, I'm up here at mile such and so, would be nice if I had a different pair of socks or something. And then, because the way this course is, very easily drive up. There were cars passing by. There's one family that I saw like 3 times on the first loop, and I know it was the same people because they had a dog and the kids were hanging out the back of the SUV. And the first time I saw them, I was like, oh, cool, there's a family here, a couple of dogs. And then a few miles later, I see them again. I was like, didn't I just see you like 3 miles ago? They were like, yeah, that was us. And then a few miles later, because they were driving up the course. I don't know. Maybe they were support staff for somebody. Maybe they were just taking some random photos. I don't really know. But in addition to the probably 1,200 to 1,500 runners, I would say there was probably another 400 or 500 people that were support staff, whether it be moral support or race support, that came along, or just somebody that decided to come along because, I want to go to Northern Maine and enjoy this trip with you. So there was that. And then the economic impact to Millinocket. An article from the Maine Business Journal, Millinocket Marathon, a race where runners pay their own way. Again, free race. And the organizer of the race, Gary Allen, he said, once you charge any kind of entry fee, people start to expect things. And he doesn't want Millinocket to ever become a race where the runners expect things. I didn't expect anything. I did see on the website and on the Facebook that here's a map of where people are saying there are going to be water stops. I wasn't expecting water stops to be there. I wound up carrying a bunch of goo with me. Goo being an actual product that you wind up taking basically as race fuel, not just some weird random stuff like what falls out of the sky on Nickelodeon. So it was nice that there were water stops. I wound up hitting up a couple of them, but if they weren't there, I'm good. I've got some goo. Now, I realize that goo and water are not the same thing, and you really want to have some water. And a Secret Santa did buy me a running belt that has a couple of water bottles. But I had heard that last year, because it was so cold, everybody's water froze. And I didn't want to risk my water freezing on this race, so I wound up wearing a different race belt that I could actually shove some goo in. So let me begin reading this article from the Maine Business Journal. They say more than 1,100 runners finished Millinocket's Marathon and half on Saturday. Impressive numbers for a 3-year-old December race. They say in central Maine. No, it's northern Maine. This is way up there in Maine. We're talking like an hour from the Canadian border, Maine. But the numbers only tell part of the story. This is the race that's already become emblematic of the Katahdin region's can-do spirit as it works to rebuild local economies devastated by the permanent closure of 2 paper mills in recent years. There's definitely more to this that I'll get into here in moments here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Answering your questions, because that's what I do on Fridays. You can send those over using the anonymous, if you want it to be, contact form at ama.fppradio.com. Why do I say it's anonymous if you want it to be? Well, yes, the site does say name. Doesn't have to be your name. Doesn't even have to be an actual name. You could just put a random string of characters. The site does ask for email. Again, doesn't have to be your email. Doesn't even have to be an actual email. Just put random string of characters, an @ sign, random string of characters, and dot something. And then you put in your question. Now, that actually does have to be a question or something coherent enough to where I have some kind of clue what you're talking about. ama.fppradio.com. Question this week was how many runners actually, or how many actual people came out for the Millinocket Marathon. Amazing how much it helps the economy. Did you find out how much support you received? So before I continue with the article from the Maine Business Journal, let me answer the third question of how much support I actually received. So I was doing a fundraiser for the Millinocket Memorial Library, and I had 2 different online fundraisers, plus originally I was directing people directly to the library's website. And I don't know how many people actually donated directly to the library through their website. But I do know that through the CrowdRise fundraiser that I had, there was $525 that came in. And I'm very thankful to everybody that donated on that, including the runner that wound up donating $253 to put me to the $500 mark on that fundraiser. Thank you very much. And then there was the fundraiser that I had set up on Facebook on Giving Tuesday, because I had read somewhere that the Gates Foundation was matching donations during a particular time period, and I think there was $45 that came in through that wound up being matched by the Gates Foundation, plus there was somebody that was matching all donations to the library, so basically it got double matched, those like $45. Plus all the stuff through CrowdRise was being matched, and everything directly to the library was being matched as well. So I know that I brought in somewhere close to 600, probably close to 650, but I don't know an actual number. And again, that's being matched, so actual impact would be probably about $1,300 that I was able to bring in. So back to the economic impact for the town. Again, the Maine Business Journal has an article that says the numbers, that being the number of runners, only tell part of the story. Race founder Gary Allen told a group of town officials at a press conference, "This is the feel-good story of maybe the decade, and not just in Maine." Allen, who was touched by the Katahdin region's economic plight, conceived of the race in 2015 as a boost to the area. In its first year, 52 runners showed up for the bare-bones unofficial race. Last year, that number ballooned to 552 runners and some national attention, including an article in Runner's World. This year, 1,856 runners officially registered for the race. Now, again, not all of those showed up, because there's always going to be, whether it's a free race or a race that people pay for, there's always going to be somebody that for some reason isn't able to show up on race day. While specific numbers aren't yet available, the economic impact is obvious, says race spokeswoman Gail Fanjoy, who is the past president of the Katahdin Area Chamber of Commerce. She said, "Every hotel bed is full. The restaurants are overflowing. The boxes for toy donations overflowing when I saw them earlier today. Businesses on Main Street were crowded before, during, and after many people had crossed the finish line." The race is a running-based model of participation tourism. The area's recent revitalization push includes the type of model, encouraging visitors to take advantage of not only well-known attractions like Baxter State Park and the Katahdin Wood and Water National Monument, but smaller venues as well, highlighting the area's natural beauty and opportunity for a variety of four-season outdoor activities. The race, as I mentioned, does not charge an entry fee. Runners were instead asked to spend money at an area business that they would normally spend on registration. While that may not seem like a big selling point, and again, this in the Maine Business Journal, not something promoted to runners. So again, your average person, not really sure what a marathon cost. Well, the Maine Business Journal has some numbers here. $295 to run in the New York City Marathon. Now, that's only part of the number there, because to run in New York City, you either need to qualify on time, which means run in another marathon. You need to raise money for charity, which means you're raising $3,000 minimum for a charity, or get a lottery pick, which means that, you're a lucky person. Boston Marathon, about $200. And local marathons, you're still looking somewhere around the $100 range. Stay tuned. There's more.
Why do they hate us? Is libertarianism compatible with Islam? Davi Barker answers these questions and more in Voluntary Islam and Other Essays. He advances the voluntarist cause with analysis of the confluence of values between Islam and libertarianism, as well as contemporary movements from the Tea Party to the Arab Spring. Voluntary Islam by Davi Barker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap, Spendabit, and Amazon at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry. Online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. Before I get back into the article from the Main Business Journal about the economic impacts, I want to make sure that I tell you about something that can impact your personal economics. And that would be precious metals. And where you can get them. Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been around for over 40 years, buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also have platinum and palladium. And they're a crypto-preferred business, meaning they want you to buy the precious metals with your cryptocurrencies. And to show that they are crypto preferred, they've permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in cryptocurrency. So call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760. That's 800-874-9760, or visit online at rrbi.co. Jumping back into the article here from the Main Business Journal, they say runners can expect to spend between $60 to $300 for a marathon or half marathon registration. Again, this one was free, with the caveat of you spend money in this town that you would normally spend on a race registration. And I've already covered some of the things that the fees pay for. Registration money also pays for T-shirts, medals, and other perks that runners expect. At Millinocket, you want a shirt? You buy it. You want a medal? You buy it. Which I did. I did both of those, and I've got a lovely hand, not carved, because it's like a wood burn thing, but it's a wooden metal, in air quotes there. Bought the T-shirt, and this is a medal that I'm holding on to. The T-shirt, I'm holding on to. The others, I'll probably wind up getting rid of at some point in some kind of manner. Gary Allen says that a traditional race would not work here. It would be a burden. As soon as people pay an entry fee, they expect things. Jumping down here about the economic impact, the Maine Sports Commission estimates the average runner in a size of Millinockets would spend between $130 and $200 in the community, and they were estimating that between 2,000 to 3,000 people visited Millinocket and the region last weekend. So do the math. That's a huge economic boost to a town of 4,000 people with no real industry. And remember, every Friday I answer your questions, ama.fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.